Hey guys, Legendary Grimlock here, and today we have Gogmazios versus Mechagodzilla, size equalized, obviously, right? So this one is actually pretty interesting because it's a living weapon versus a weapon eater. Yeah, no, pretty interesting. So first things first, I want to give a special shout out to Godzilla King of the Monsters for, helping me out with this monstrous information. And yeah, be sure to go subscribe to his channel. The link will be down in the description down below. And I hope you guys enjoy him just as much as I have. So without further ado, obviously with this new set of versus battles, we get right down to the point, right? Unless it's a team situation, I really do have to cover each of these characters, huh? So, Mechagodzilla, right? While he doesn't directly scale to Godzilla because he's fighting a weakened version of him, and Adam Wingard, the director of both of these MonsterVerse blockbuster box office movies, right? Pretty much stated that Mechagodzilla wouldn't have won if Godzilla was at full strength, meaning the whole fight would have gone differently. Godzilla may have struggled a little bit, but not too much by his account, right? So, with that being said here, Mechagodzilla still has plenty, and I mean plenty of great feats here. If you guys want to get the tier over with, I would definitely put him around the planetary to, well, multi-continental to planetary domains here. The reason why I would say that is because, again, Godzilla tunneling through the Hollow Earth is a very impressive feat, to which you can actually get it to around dwarf star level because the gravitational inverse of the Hollow Earth is very similar to that of black holes. Now, this isn't really a more of a durability feat. It's more of a biological feat if you really want to get into there, because each kaiju's DNA is pretty much tethered to the Hollow Earth, meaning even something as fodder as Doug, and the Warbats are capable of tanking it. But again, Mechagodzilla still has some pretty decent feats, as he would still scale above not only younger versions of Godzilla, but still weaker versions of him. Or even a tired Godzilla still has some pretty good feats here. As if you guys go ahead and read Godzilla Dominion, which I have in my drawer here, Godzilla, during that entire comic run, was weakened, but still was able to solve some of the problems around the Earth. And one of those few problems, he was trying to go back to his much older territory here, but unfortunately, he was caught by another kaiju. Now, again, keep in mind this is a weakened Godzilla here. However, he was still able to beat the kaiju known as Titanus, Tiamat. Now, Tiamat is actually really impressive in her own right, and unfortunately, she did dirty in the New Empire because I thought at least the fight would be around, or at least the fight would be longer. And Tiamat, with her aquakinesis and her razor sharp scales along her body, was actually able to give Godzilla a pretty decent fight up until Godzilla was able to actually pressure her and force her to the surface to where he beat her and got her to submit. Now, we actually see a bunch of skeletons here, and it's actually confirmed that one of these skeletons is a Muto Prime skeleton, meaning that Tiamat was able to kill a Muto Prime at some point. Now, this is actually pretty important because Muto Primes are not only known to recreate any earthquake in history, meaning that they could possibly recreate the Pangea earthquake that separated every continent into what it was today, but again, she could easily cause magnitude 18 earthquakes, which are scaled to be around the small planet domains. Then you also have him scaling above Camazotz, who's also capable of blacking out the entire planet. So take that as you will. So Mechagodzilla, even at his lowest, or even at Godzilla's lowest, would be around the planetary, multi-continental, and if you really want to highball him, you can easily do those dwarf star level scalings, but personally I wouldn't. Now, let's move on to Gogmazios, the Machine Eater. Now, here's a fun fact about Gogmazios here. Gogmazios is one of the few monsters that would actually go out of their way to target the hunters or the guild's, what's it called? The factories of the guilds here. Which means he would actually go out of his way to eat the smelting chambers, to eat the weapons, the explosives. They would actually eat these stuff, like eat all of these dangerous weapons that we use to like harm basic elder dragons, and eat it like it's food. Now keep in mind this is important here because the citadel of I'm going to probably butcher it, Dumdoras. Citadel Dumdora has actually been rated, or has actually gotten close to be rated, to beings like Yamatsukuri and Shen Goran, who is an Elder Dragon level crustacean known to actually fight against and even hold its own against the likes of Nakarkos, and use Lao She Lung skulls as its own defense here. And here's the funny thing, right? We don't know if Shendegaron actually finds these skulls and uses them to defend themselves, or if they actually are capable of killing Lao Sheng Lungs here. But if we go with the sheer fact that, again, they're still around the Elder Dragon level here, and the fact that they are able to use Lao Sheng Lung's skulls, and the hunters are able to constantly repel them, meaning they actually are repelling the Lao Sheng Lung as well. With Lao Sheng Lung, a single scale from him are capable of basically being strong, or just possibly stronger than a flying wyvern shell. Now keep in mind the guild is talking about flying wyverns in general, meaning you can actually scale this a plethora of ways here, with flying wyverns on a base level being around the mountain to island ranges as scaling to a cantor. But then you also have elder dragon level flying wyverns like flaming Espinas, regular Espinas, mind you. And you also have Seething Basilgoose, you have Silver Rathalos, Gold Rathian. I think you guys get the point. Alright? Now, this would then go into the Elder Dragon level scaling itself here on, well, what people think Elder Dragon level is, right? And with Seasoning Basilgoose being one of the few monsters to actually hold its own against a Runer Nergigante, and actually, do a pretty decent job at fighting it, to the point where they both had this turf war here, and by the way, they both survived it. You could easily scale them to Runer Nergigante's feat of killing Sharish Valda, and it's also confirmed that despite the fact that Sharish Valda would have been at full power if Nergigante originally got its hold of it, it wouldn't have mattered, and Sharish Valda would have died regardless. So what we're seeing here is what would have happened even if Sharish Valda had its full armor and if it was at full strength as well. Meaning that Nergigante would have killed a full-powered Sharish Valda regardless. This is the same Sharish Valda who is capable of affecting a multi-continental region. Now, keep in mind, ecosystems in Monster Hunter, or the islands, or, well, the maps in Monster Hunter in general, are not just simply islands. These are full-blown ecosystems with their own tectonic plates, or their own, well, continents, I should say here. And Sharish Valda was affecting it from the Hoarfrost region to the New World, to the Old World, and to the Guiding Lands. So being able to shake multiple sets of continents with ease here. There's also other Elder Dragons that you can easily get to multi-continental, like Orish Kirin, who is able to freeze every drop of air. Like, freeze all the moisture in the air. Like, quite casually. I know it's crazy. And again, you have the sheer fact that Elder Dragons like Yamato Sakuri, or I'm gonna call it Yama. Yama, and there are other versions of Shengoran, or subspecies, that actually are able to kill a Cantor, who was another Elder Dragon that is capable of eating Elder Dragon level monster, who's capable of even eating the likes of Devil Joes, which we know are capable of going toe-to-toe and holding their own against Nergigante. So again, providing that multi-continental to possibly even moon level scaling. And this goes back to Gogmazios here, who is actually one of the more successful monsters, and to where the hunters basically have to just fight it out with Gogmazios and just win at that point. Because at that point, it's already in the facility. Everyone's out there. Everyone's evacuated. They couldn't repel it, so they got to do what they got to do. So, yeah, they got to duke it out. So, easily, with his oil attacks as well, which actually makes him pretty slippery, and he can ignite it as well, as the fireistic properties, or the pyrokinetic properties of his breath combined with the oil, is actually supposed to be very unique and symbiotic, to the point where the fire can just ignite the oil and it doesn't disintegrate like right away. It still, forms this glob mass on the ground here. Plus, there's also the Dragonator on its back as well, as it does attach various things to it because of its oil-like texture, and it kind of welds it to them as weapons. So, yeah, you have Gogmazios being in the multi-continental to the planetary domains as well, which is why I really chose this matchup here, because Mechagodzilla being a weapon, and he's going up against a being that would actually try to eat him. And since this is the same size scenario, this means Mechagodzilla can grab him, right? I mean, sure, Gogmazios is oily, but Mechagodzilla should be able to grab him, right? Yeah, that oil texture ain't for, show either. So I think Mechagodzilla is going to have a hard time to grab him, in all honesty. Now, if you want speed scaling, then it's not hard at all. You have your FTL scaling for both, reacting to Godzilla's atomic breath, which is similar to, I think it's called Cherenkov radiation, which even underwater can reach light speed. So that's not hard at all to, scale. Then you have Monster Hunter with monsters reacting to light speed to faster than light attacks here, scaling off of beings like Garuba Deora, who is a light speed Elder Dragon, and again, you can easily scale Gogmazios above or relative to it. So again, you do have your relativistic to FTL scaling for Monster Hunter. And at the end of the day here, I kind of think this is pretty bad for Mechagodzilla. And the reason why is because the way Mechagodzilla was beaten was because his internal structure was messed up because of some apple juice on the control module. But even if you don't want to say that Gogmazios can reach the control module, which is pretty much true here, here's the thing. Mechagodzilla grabbing, fighting, trying to blast, because again, Gogmazios can fly here, being able to fight against a monster that's oily, that's going to get in his systems. And over time, I think that enough oil in his systems, and then Gogmazios decides to unleash his fire breath after a very intense physical battle. Because I do think, physically speaking, these guys would be pretty close, especially with the whole size equalize scenario. But even without it, I think Gogmazios would be too slippery for, Mechagodzilla to grab because, again, the oil-like texture of his body. But at the end of the day here, Gogmazios would probably light Mechagodzilla on fire with all that oil in his system and cause his software, his machinery, everything within him to just malfunction and possibly combust from within. So, at the end of the day, yeah, I would probably say Gogmazios wins with high difficulty. But again, that one fire breath could go miles after that. But anyway, that's going to be all for today. Please comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends. This is Legendary Grimlock, and I hope you guys have a blessed day. Peace.